All right, let's get right into it. The world of AI is just full of hype, right? But today, we're going to cut through all that noise. We're looking at the actual data to see what AI tools people are really using, the ones that have truly captured our attention.
So, here's the big question we're trying to answer. If you ignore the billion-dollar headlines and the flashy tech demos for just a minute, what are you, me, and literally millions of other people clicking on and using every single day? You know, the stuff that's actually become part of our lives. The answer? Well, it might just surprise you.
And the key to unlocking that answer is this incredible list from A16Z. What makes it so powerful is how it's put together. This isn't about who has the most funding or the biggest valuation, no. It tracks pure, raw usage, monthly visits to websites, and active users on apps. And that includes all the free stuff. So this gives us a totally unfiltered look at what people genuinely find useful, or just plain fun.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the new kids on the block and the trends that are just exploding. Now, the AI space is starting to stabilize a little bit. It's getting harder for new names to crack the top ranks. But that doesn't mean things are boring. Oh no, there are still some absolutely massive new categories bursting onto the scene.
You've probably seen tweets that look something like this, right? It's become the calling card for this wild new trend called vibe coding. These are tools that let you build websites, even entire apps, just by typing out what you want. And the growth? It has been faster than almost anything we've seen in a very, very long time.
So, is this just a fad, a flash in the pan? Well, the data is screaming no. For the top platforms in this space, like Lovable and Replit, their revenue retention is over 100% in just the first few months. Now, what that means is people aren't just trying them out and then leaving. They're sticking around and actually upgrading their plans. That tells you people are building real valuable stuff with these tools.
At the same time, one of the most dominant, and let's be honest, surprising categories just keeps on growing: AI companionship. And we're not talking about just one or two apps. A huge chunk of the top 100 is dedicated to this. You've got the returning champs like Character.ai, but there are always new names like Juicy Chat and Joyland popping up. It just proves this is a really deeply compelling thing for millions of people.
Okay, next up, the giants. Because it's not just startups having all the fun. The established tech players are making huge strategic moves, and now we can really see it showing up in the numbers.
For the very first time, we can properly see how Google's AI products are doing, and wow, they have made a massive splash. They landed 4 different tools on the web list right out of the gate. You've got Gemini, their main competitor to ChatGPT, debuting at number 2. But then you also have AI Studio for developers, NotebookLM for researchers, which is surprisingly popular, and even Google Labs for people who want to play with the really experimental stuff. This chart tells such a fascinating story about the competition. On the web, look at that. ChatGPT is still the undisputed king. It's got about 90% of the traffic share. But on mobile, it is a whole different ballgame. Gemini is much, much closer, about half of ChatGPT's traffic. And that's almost certainly because it's baked right into the Android ecosystem. This is definitely not a one-horse race anymore.
Chinese AI companies are another major force to watch, and they're playing 2 different games at the same time. On one hand, they're building these domestic champions, like Quark and Doba, to serve their huge home market, where a lot of foreign AI is banned. But on the other hand, they're exporting some incredibly powerful and innovative creative tools, like the Hicho video model, to the rest of us around the world.
You know, with all this change, you might think it's a revolving door at the top, but a core group of companies has shown just incredible staying power. These are the AI All-Stars, the 14 companies that have made the top 100 every single time since this list started.
And here they are. You see the big names you'd expect, right? ChatGPT, Midjourney. But here's what's absolutely fascinating to me. More than half of these enduring companies don't build their own foundation models from scratch. They succeed by building a better user interface, a better product experience, on top of other people's tech. It just goes to show you that in consumer AI, the product is every bit as important as the underlying model.
So what's their secret sauce? How do they stay on top? It all comes down to these super powerful network effects. There's a classic example, the data cycle. More users give you more data, which helps you improve the model, which then attracts even more users. That's the ChatGPT playbook. But there's also a community network effect, which is just as powerful. Think about Hugging Face with its shared models, or ElevenLabs, where this massive user-generated voice library is a huge reason people pick their product. So, after looking at all this data, where are we headed? Let's try to predict the future a little bit and see what trends might create the next big winners on this list.
The really big trend is something called verticalization. Basically, we're moving away from a world where there's one AI to rule them all. Instead, people are building their own personal toolkit of specialized AIs. They might use ChatGPT for writing, Perplexity for research, and something totally different for coding. And the best proof of this? Grok. With its real-time, edgy personality, it debuted at an insane number 4 on the web list by carving out its own very specific niche.
And as the AI models themselves get more accurate and more reliable, whole new categories start to become possible. Right now, we're seeing this explosion in prosumer and productivity tools. But as things like hallucinations become less of a problem, you can expect to see a wave of apps in more sensitive areas. First education and tutoring, then health and wellness, and eventually even personal finance in truly AI-native social networks.
So what's the big takeaway here? On one hand, the consumer AI market is definitely maturing. We have a clear list of all-stars and dominant categories. And yet, as vibe coding proved just 6 months ago, there's always the potential for some completely unexpected, out-of-left-field category to just show up and change everything. The only real question is, what's it going to be next time?